So I used to buy into the idea that you need to read a book a week to be a successful person, because Bill Gates, everyone says, reads 50 books a year, and you hear other entrepreneurs talking about how much they read.
Knowledge. I read a book a day. The more you learn, the more you earn.
And so this idea led me to going on a rampage and buying a truckload of books. And so what I've come to realize is that people need to be reminded more than they need to learn something new. So I think there comes a point in your book reading journey where you've read a lot, you've consumed a lot, but you need to remind yourself of the things you've learned and to actually apply them in your life. And there's this quote by Bob Proctor which goes, "When you read a book for the second time, you don't see something in it which you missed the first time, you see something in yourself which wasn't there before." You only need a few books to keep in your life and to read over and over again and to make sure you're applying it. And so this leads me to my video where I talk about my 6 favorite books, and these are the books which I'm just going to continue to reread every single year for the rest of my life. And so firstly, number 1, my favorite book of all time, The Alchemist. And there's a quote by Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, which perfectly summarizes the lessons in this book. And this quote goes, "Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary." And so I believe we've been conditioned, we've been programmed to think in a certain way, to value logic and reason over intuition and feeling. And that's what led Einstein to famously say that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. A boy who follows his intuition and sees where it leads him. And I know it sounds, very cliche, but when I reach a very difficult scenario in my life from following my intuition, there's a scenario in the book which I can relate to, and that's why I believe this book is one of the best-selling books of all time, because it's basically like an archetype. The story of the boy throughout the whole book basically captures all elements of the human condition, especially the human who decides to follow their intuition. Every experiences and emotions are captured in there, and you can relate to it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this, because when we go and venture off into our own journey, into the unknown, then what brings us consolation and brings us comfort and allows us to have the courage to push forward and keep going through is to understand that this is part of the process, and this process is captured in this fictional story of The Alchemist. So the next book which I want to talk about is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. In part of my spiritual journey, I used to think, why does the world have to be so materialistic? I just want to go off into the mountains, shave my head and become a monk and just meditate in the mountains for like the rest of my life. But what I've come to realize is that you can be spiritual while chasing material wealth, because money does solve problems. While I was having this dilemma, I started to read this book, and I realized that I think you do need to be like a spiritual person to be able to achieve what you define as success in your life. Because to achieve success, you need to have some strong element of belief which drives you through. And that's belief in what? Belief in yourself, belief in the universe, belief in God, belief in a higher power, belief in your higher self. You need belief to take you to a place where you want to go, regardless of if it's material success or not. And winners and losers have the same goals, but only one of them achieve it. So it's not the goal, it's not the lack of vision which make people not go towards where they want to go. It's the lack of clarity of what they need to do. And what this book really does well is it has studied the most successful people of all time, and it gets their habits and patterns of behavior, and it tells you basically to copy them. Success leaves clues, and these are the clues which the successful people have left. I'm going to show you an example. So this book tells you about visualizing your goals and seeing it every day and things like that. And this is what I've had on my wall, like even when I had 0 subscribers. I've photoshopped like me getting monetized and me having 1,000 subscribers, and I saw this vision every day, and I created an action plan towards it, and these were the steps given in the book, and you can apply it in every aspect of your life, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it's getting a bit hot in here. It's winter over here in Australia and it's pretty cold, but all this talking has made me pretty hot. So okay, alright, for the next book is The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And this is an excellent book because, you know what, I love the books where you can just open it up to a random page and just start reading. That's the type of person I am. I love these types of books, and probably the reason is because like it's sort of like gambling. You just don't know if you're gonna win or lose. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna get like a really cool quote and it's just gonna change my life or something, or improve my day. But it's fun. You know, I like these types of books. But basically, this book is a sort of an addition, like a supplementary read to Think and Grow Rich, because it talks about mindset, because a big part of having success or reaching where you want to go is to put into your subconscious mind exactly where you want to go, because the subconscious mind is basically like the operating system behind the external world, which brings things manifest, which brings, you know, the resources in the external world to you. I know it sounds all woo-woo, but this is what religious texts have been telling us throughout the ages, and this book is basically just a reaffirmation of all of the teachings of these spiritual texts on manifestation and law of attraction. And like I said, people need to be reminded more than they need to learn something new. And what this book serves for me is to remind myself that if things aren't going right, then as wishy-washy as it sounds, having the right mental attitude and staying true to the vision in your mind is probably the single most important thing that you need to do to basically follow the vision given to you by your higher self, your destiny. And yeah, my next book is The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. And this is one of my latest books which I've discovered out of these 6, but it's definitely one of the most impactful, because without this book I would not have started a YouTube channel. I can say that right now. I would not have started a YouTube channel if I didn't read this book. And the reason why this book is so good is because it puts a name to this force that we all fall to. So you know, this force that every time you want to do something new, or every time you think about, oh, I should go to the gym, or I should wake up early, or this force always pushing us down, trying to cause us to procrastinate or self-sabotage or not take the first step towards our dreams. And Steven Pressfield labels this force as resistance, and he explains all the elements of resistance, of how it holds you back in your everyday life. And the reason why this is so important is because for so long in my life, basically for like 4 years, I wanted to start a YouTube channel and I didn't start it because of resistance, and I didn't know that I was acting unconsciously based on fear and resistance. As Carl Jung says, if you do not make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And so that's what I was doing. I was acting unconsciously based on fear every time I think, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm just gonna watch Netflix. That's me acting unconsciously because of fear and resistance. And so reading this book and making me really conscious of my inner fears and, you know, insecurities, whatever, towards starting a YouTube channel, it made me realize, oh, okay, the only thing stopping me is this emotion of fear and resistance, which has been really well exposed. That's the best word for it. Exposed, to expose these fears, to see them for what they are. They're just feelings. They're just a force. You acknowledge, okay, this is just a force which is holding me back. Do I need to listen to it? No. Is it always going to be there? Yes. Should I make this YouTube video anyway? Yes. I felt the resistance before making this video as well, but I realized, it's just resistance. It's always going to be here when I turn on the camera. And that's something so powerful to understand, and that's why I love this book. You know, I definitely recommend it. And it's definitely going to help you with whatever endeavor you want to do in your life. It doesn't have to be making a YouTube channel or doing something creative. It can just be as simple as it can be just as simple as, ooh, I need to improve my finances. Time to read a finance book. You're going to feel resistance, and it's going to be good to understand it by reading this book. Next book is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And now I'm just going to be completely honest. I was very uneducated in history. Like I didn't know what happened, but I didn't know how horrific like the events of like the Holocaust and stuff were. And so reading this book really gave me an insight on it. And the reason why I recommend this book is because the author, who suffered in, you know, these concentration camps, Viktor Frankl, he was somehow I'm pretty sure he's a psychologist, and he was able to analyze his emotions and feelings while he was going through all this torment. And for some reason, he was able to reach like spiritual heights that were like, that surprised me. You know, somebody who's experiencing this much torment to experience, you know, the spirituality of, I don't know, human existence, and to reach spiritual heights, it just really astounded me, and it really just humbled me. Like, the reason I say humbled is because when I think about, like, you know, my own problems, like, you know, like my car breaking down, and then I curse the world and then I get angry at the universe or the world for making my car break down. But this guy who's lost his family, he's getting, you know, tormented 12 hours work a day or whatever in the snow, and he's still somehow able to find the light, you know, the light of God and love in the universe. It really just resets me, puts me back into reality, and think I'm being blind. I'm not being grateful for the, you know, multitude of things around me which have been going well. And it's really good to be, you know, humbled every now and again, and you know, I guess learn from the greats like Viktor Frankl. And yeah, that's why I recommend this. And so my final book, which I want to recommend, is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And so I believe that spirituality is all about the process of learning, unlearning, and then relearning. So if you go through like spiritual awakening, you realize most of the things you've been taught to believe are wrong. And so what this book done for me was, when I read it, I realized everything that was taught in school and everything that I was raised to believe about money and, you know, working a job and all those sorts of things were basically wrong. And so it made me question, how did I get here? How did I be so blind and oblivious to these things taught in this book about finances and business and the world for 23 years of my life? And that's when I read this book, when I was 23 years old. And it really shattered my perception of reality, because I was like, man, I've just been on autopilot. What do I believe? I don't know what to believe anymore. Who do I trust? And I love books which challenge your current perception on reality and make you really ponder and basically dissect your belief systems, because that's, and although that's painful, it's how you grow, it's how you learn. You learn from unlearning and relearning new things, and that's what this book done for me. And so yeah, these are my 6 favorite books. I'm gonna leave a link down in the description below where you can buy them. I do want to make an announcement and say that the Discord community is gonna be released soon. It's like, dude, it's actually gonna be sick. Like, I've been spending so much time on like trying to think about, you know, the categories and what to put into where, and like how to make it as engaging for, you know, us as possible, because like I said before, it's quite difficult sometimes being in like a, you know, spiritual minded person, and you know, you might feel lonely and stuff. So having a community where I can talk about all this stuff that we love, like psychology, philosophy, spirituality, it's gonna be sick. And super excited to release it soon, and super excited to see you guys there. And also, if you got to the end of this video, I'd like you to leave a book emoji down in the comments below. Just lets me know that you got through the whole thing. And anyway, yeah, that's it for me, and see you in the next video. Peace.